Hey y'all, it's me. Coming on, getting stronger. It's me, Ashley. Ashley's story time with Ashley. So my last video I told you guys that I had a trip and fall. I'm still not 100%, but I have been healing. I've had a week off from walking and going around, and it's given me a lot of time to percolate and postulate. And really and truly, I think it's about time that a lot of us open our ojos, eyes. So about a month and a half ago, I was talking about a prophetic situation, and I had said, this whole thing that began, Venezuela hadn't even been hit yet, and then it was hit a couple weeks ago with Maduro getting captured. And I said, lo and behold, in my video about pews to purpose, you can check it out. Like I said, people listen, people don't listen. What am I going to say? I had said that the real target was not Venezuela, it was Iran. So I'm going to explain this. And now, at this very moment, Iran is being targeted. And like I said, I had a prophetic dream about a year ago that after some procession of this warmongering, that there was going to be an even bigger war, a version of a jihad. Okay. So simplistically, why I keep coming on and reiterating this to people is because right now, and has been going on for several years, is the waking up generation. Okay. Everything is shaping us to wake up. And the next thing I want to profess is that if people don't realize, no one is really being a whistleblower here in the sense of like countries. Like realistically, what people may not understand is a lot of these wars are for resources. Yes, everyone understood Venezuela for the oil, granted. The breakdown of OPEC is going to be happening with Iran. But what people are not maybe realizing is that Iran has like 10% of all the antimony in the world. Huge deposits. I think it was like, I don't know, $38 billion worth of antimony in its borders. And not for nothing, antimony is a precious metal that is very important with AI, or especially military grade AI. Okay, so for that, that face recognition software and things of that nature, it's really good for that. So what I want to express to everyone, because here in Canada, they're telling us that they're going to be, putting more industry into resources, meaning starting more mining, etc. Now, I have to preface this by saying our resources are fresh water and also minerals, etc. But hey, I'll be honest, China owns most of our resources. Just saying. Do I think Iran is to protect Israel? No. I think Iran is going out and being sought after for antimony. And it would be a good bargaining chip if the States actually got hold of all that antimony, because who, lo and behold, would want it? Russia and China. Not only the States, but Russia and China as well. And it would be a really good bargaining chip for China. So, the talks haven't been that great with China. And maybe if they were to acquire all this through their military reasoning, this would be more of a player's game. Okay. So what people may not realize is that all these wars are being started around the world, in Africa. And let's just be real. Cobalt, please. Tons in Africa. Okay. And not for nothing, the Africans, as of, from west to east, have been coalescing, getting together and getting rid of their colonial generational oppression. Okay. And as they do this, right, there are other countries, especially those that colonized, let's say Britain, France, Netherlands, etc., that have been exited out of Africa. And this is causing some problems for the big wigs out there, because realistically, a lot of the resources are in Africa too. Not to mention South America, but Africa as well. Now, what people may not understand is that really these wars are not about, religion and background and these bickering whatevers that they're telling you on the television and or any form of media. These superpowers are most interested in obtaining all of the resources, because what you have to understand is that if they control the resources, they control the world, right? Because we cannot have our smartphones without them. We can't have our smart cars without them. We can't have our smart cities without them. And if Plan 2030 is to, blossom as much as they want it to, these wars have to go on. And, they're saying they're going after Greenland, again, for resources. Everything is to do with resources. And the fact that no whistleblowers in the UN or any other superpower, because the thing is, you have to understand is that China is well endowed and attached to Iran. Now, here's the thing. Will China go and invade Iran? Probably not. Will China make deals with those that invade Iran? Probably so. So the thing is that these superpowers are probably all communicating and talking to each other about how they can obtain and take over the world. Okay? And that's why a lot of people are, not really paying attention to the bigger picture. They, I said about a month ago, hey, Venezuela was just the beginning, then it's going to be Iran, breakdown of OPEC. And it was funny that I said that Dick Cheney died right before this all started. Because I don't know how powerful Dick Cheney was, but that man had such a thumb in all of that, especially to do with Venezuela. Cuba is being gone after. Any country that is somewhat of a nuclear threat, I imagine, is going to be gone after. And I'm just coming on because realistically, the writing's on the wall. Okay, where we stand. I said this years ago that there was going to be a civil war breaking out in the United States. I didn't know how it was going to commence. It all started when I started seeing about a year and a half ago about that winter boots special that was going on. And here's the thing. It's not about red and blue anymore, right? It's about human decency, nationality, and patriotism. And not for nothing, the ICE hooligans, vigilantes, have been running ravage through the United States, just taking whoever they willy-nilly choose. Made a big mistake. But here's the thing. Is it ironic that the woman that they actually killed, not only was she white, Christian, a mother? Isn't that what the supremacists are always trying to uphold and to protect, in essence? Are those three things, the virtuoso? And isn't it ironic that she had one of the most blatantly disgusting deaths for all the world to see, okay, that would cause enough crux and crunch controversy because it would change the trajectory of the thought process of the MAGAs, the middlemen, and then the revolutionaries. And is it interesting that this woman, as horrifying it was to see this, as someone who looks at the way things work, okay, she was ideal to open up eyeballs. Because now everyone can see that this is not just a war on, and to be exclaimed as a domestic terrorist, deplorable, disgusting. So now what this woman's death will propel is the thought processes in all Americans to understand, are we in a war against our own government? Are we in a war of us versus them? Versus anything else. And isn't it ironic that her name was Renee Good? I don't find that funny at all. I find that ironic in the sense that it had to be someone named something so point blank and in your face. She was good. She was a good person. Not that anyone else, any other Latino, Black person, Asian person that has already been taken into these concentration camps, whatever they are called, by these vigilantes, these has-beens, never was, never would be's, aka ICE. And it brought a little bit of sarcasm in my heart that it was yes, obviously I am very understanding that we all choose our destinies, we all choose our lives. But the fact that this woman's last name was Good is a starking, there's no coincidences in life. And it's if anyone can find that woman a terrorist, then you are not understanding what soul is. And it's not because of all the other things I disclaimed. I'm saying that in the world of racist bigots and just awful human beings in general, I don't think anyone in their right mind, anyone who is good, could see that Good was a terrorist. Just like I can't see anyone thinking that Greta Thunberg is a terrorist. We're at the point where anyone who is trying to do the will of the people are being taken out. And if people haven't realized that, and another alarming, starking thing that I thought, because I remembered from my memory, that this woman's going to start a revolution in her death. That is guaranteed. But you know who else passed away a couple years ago that started a revolution unknowingly because he was good? George Floyd. And you know where he died? Minneapolis. Maybe, you know, God likes the martyrs that are going to change the world to come out of Minneapolis. I don't know. Or the people of Minneapolis need to realize that whatever goes on in any form of real police system and or fake vigilante policing system of immigration, like, they're not for the people. Like, we're seeing this all across the board. I honestly have a big qualm and a big bone to pick against all the police officers around the world, because I think you guys are being targeted more than anybody when it comes to soul decisions. Because you can't help me understand where you can arrest elderly people in England, Ireland, wherever, that are holding signs. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just saying that genocide is bad. Genocide should not exist. You know what I'm saying? Not for nothing, I'm Irish in descent. And I will tell you something. I was made very well aware by my Irish heritage of what it is like to go through a famine or be starved to death. Because that's why the North and South even exist in the first place. Not just because of Protestant and Catholic. It's because there was a regime placed in. And to think that 200 years later, we're still here as a people, we haven't learned. And then to see that the people that are persecuting these Palestinians are the same people that had to go through a type of genocide in the early 1930s. It's like, I feel like no one's seeing that this history is repeating over and over and over again, everywhere, every way. And it's all ironic. So ironic. It's like Spirit is really trying to say to people, wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. If you guys can't see these patterns and you guys can't see these signs, I don't know what else will do it. I know there's more. Mr. Trump is a diabolical character. Like, if this was a cartoon, he would be the villain. But what most people realize is that villains create superheroes. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's creating American superheroes to arise. And what I will say is that as the world stage is set, more superheroes around the world are going to arise. But I'm telling you, this one particular character is really, really at the crux of this complete overhaul. Because, I'll explain what I'm saying. I see timelines, okay? And I see a grouping of people who think that Trump is a king. I don't know how. I don't know why. They think he's great. They think everything he does is masterful and magnificent, even though their economy and everything around them is shattering. They still trust and love. It's like that girlfriend that gets beaten by her boyfriend over and over, and it's like, I love him, but I just love him. He rapes me and just hurts me, and he's a pedophile, but I love him. I love him. You know, it's alarming. You know, and then there's these middle people. You know, and I got to see this really clearly at my Christmas party, okay, with my own family, because I have devout Trumpers. I'm Canadian, and I have devout Trumpers in my family, and I'm like, how, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They have to exist. I get it. Rude awakening is happening, but you know what I can say about those MAGA Trumpers? At least, even though they have blind faith, they are willing to do anything to the nth degree to make that man's dream come true. A lot of power behind those dumbasses. You know what I'm saying? Because they blindly will just follow this man and do whatever he says. And there's a lot of power in that. Just saying. Then there's the middle people. And that was another grouping at my Christmas party, where I had my cousins going, oh my God, I can't believe these people, they're protesting and then they're getting fines and arrested and da-da-da-da. We're all having this debate at my Christmas party. And then there's me. So the middle people were more predominant at my Christmas party. And I am the one who's on the off side, because the middle people are like, I can't believe Trump's still there. You know, oh, Joe, shut up. And that's my uncle, right? And they're all like, that guy's an idiot. He's horrifying to the American people and to us as Canadians. And we're all going to fall apart because of this man. Why doesn't anybody just take him out? Why doesn't anybody stop him? That was what they were saying. And I literally had to sit and look, because I'm on the third wave. I'm on the third timeline, right? I'm on the third or the fourth. I'll explain what the fourth is. And I said, okay. I'm like, you feel passionate. Why don't you do it? Why don't you do something? And it was like, who, me? Me go do something? So that's the problem with the middle people. They're a bunch of talkers, but they're not a bunch of walkers. You know what I mean? And I said that, I go, if you're not willing to even take a chance of protesting, because they were like, but the fines, but the this, and I said to them, and they go, Ashley, would you really do that? I'm like, I have protested. That's what I told my cousin. I'm like, I have protested. I'm like, I'm a single mom, so I don't get to get up in arms all the time, but anytime I get a chance, I'm up there. And I go, and she's like, but what if you got arrested? I'm like, look, lady, I'm like, we're at the point where we're fighting for things like freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to live, freedom to write. I'm like, if we don't do this, my son gets nothing. So I'm like, don't ever think that it's about what's in front of your face. It's about the arrests. It's about the fines. It's about bigger things. Meaning that if we don't move from this middle stage, there's a bunch of people in this middle stage that are like, ma, 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 ma. But they don't move a muscle to even stop anything. But they got a lot of talk, jibba jab. You know what I mean? And then we've got these Trumpers over here that are so for him, but they'll move muscles and they'll make things happen on his behalf. You know what I'm saying? So at least they're motivated to move. You know, the middle people not motivated to move. A lot of talking. Then we got our motivated to movers. We got the third timeline people who are like, if we don't do nothing, something's gonna give. You know, we got to do something. And then there is the fourth timeline viewer, which I think I'm part of as well, because as much as I want to do so many things for the world, and I keep trying in my little ways, you know what I mean? I see the synchronicity. I see the patterns. I see the most auspicious beauty about the placements, of the timing, of like the masterfulness of how this is all working out. Because when Trump was in power the first time, he didn't do enough damage. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I professed even after he was out, I'm like, he's coming back in because he just didn't do enough. His calling is not fulfilled yet. Because I knew deep down inside, seeing that man for the first time in presidency, I was like, that's how the change is going to happen. Oh my God. He's the bull in the china shop. He's the one that's going to make everybody realize they got to fight for something. And that's literally what's happening right now. Make America great again. What a joke. Okay? I don't care. I might have Americans coming after me. I really don't care. But no government right now is making Canada, Greenland, Europe, Africa, Russia, you know, any place in the world is not being made great again. Okay? It's being made great for the powerful. And we, as those that have power that surpasses and supersedes these, you know, fat cat big wigs, not only in government, because you think your government is the powerful one. No, they're pawns and puppeteered by the conglomerates. Like, what people don't understand is, like, these characters, aka the government heads, have armies, right? And until Elon Musk creates all of his AI army, government heads are the only ones that can instill and enforce and Napoleon Bonaparte the world. So for people to get any type of, you know, commodities or, like I said, resources, etc., big things, big ticket items, to propel consumerism further, warfare further, smart cities further, they need to use these characters to do that work. And no offense, Donald Trump is a genius when it comes to this. Because he literally is turning everybody into thinking that everyone's a fucking domestic terrorist. Oh, you disagree with me? I take you out. I buy up all the media. Have any of you ever heard of the KGB? Have any of you ever read Mein Kampf or seen any of Stalin's writings or any other dictator's writings for that matter? There is a system of how you can control and take over populaces. It's already been documented, and not for nothing, this playbook is being played out again. And he's doing it in such a superb fashion because he literally is going around with his crew of hooligans saying that everybody's a terrorist, everybody's fake news, everybody's this, everybody's that. Not him, not his people. They're all the right, God-fearing, even though the books and the Bibles that he made were made in China. When he was saying, oh, let's make America great again, let's bring industry back to America, he got the Bibles made in China. Like, let's be real, okay? There's no industry coming back to America. And if they did, it'd probably be at the hands of those slave labor camps, aka Alligator Alcatraz, and all of those, because that's where the free labor's at. So when I say this to all of you, I'm not trying to be, facetious, or I'm not trying to be like some there is a fourth element to this, that we must understand that someone like him is perfect for the role of tomfoolery, tomfuckery. You know what I'm saying? That he can basically get militias, he can get armies to go and invade wherever he sees fit. I mean, not for nothing, the militants that were in Venezuela were like, there's no drug cartels here. There's no drugs. It's all a facade. You're either a terrorist, a drug dealer. Once in Canada, I would say like maybe 8 months back, drug dealers, because they said the borders had to get, more rough and tough with Canada. And that's why the tariffs were so high, because we're drug dealers. Meanwhile, they confiscated, like, what was it, one key of fentanyl? Oh, I'm sorry. One key, So realistically, you're either being called an anti-Semite, a terrorist, or a drug dealer, or an illegal immigrant who is a terrorist, or a domestic terrorist. The name calling is all they've got. It's called deflection. It's literally like, this is what we are, but we're going to call you that and watch you try to defend yourselves. And as you're trying to defend yourselves, we're going to take whatever we want. We're going to break down the rule of law. Not for nothing. Right now, the Supreme Court is overloaded, maxed out probably. Not only were some of the judges sworn in by him, but at the same time, no one's paying attention also to anything to do with Epstein and those files. Isn't that funny? It's like, oh, I'm okay with Jewish Zionism, Christian Zionism, but it's all right that you're a pedophile. That's fine. Our president can be a pedophile, not to mention all the government heads, most likely, England included. They're all part of this ring. And it's just like, it blows my mind, because this fourth element is right here, staring at us all in the face, that says that every single one of these deployments is to wake us up. Wake us up to the reality that, in a sense, it's do or die for some of us. It's do or die for some of you that might see this. Maybe you're not in the countries that are being persecuted heavily, but maybe you are. And what I'm trying to say is that I'm talking to this middle timeline grouping, because realistically, if we can't see the writing on the wall for what it is, we're all in real trouble. And it is alarming. But I do understand somewhat that all of this has to happen in order for people to wake up, to take their power back, to say, I can do something today. I can be a part of the movement today. I can say no. I don't have to be scared about protesting. I don't have to be scared, of actually standing up for what I believe in. And things like this, like Renee Good, it's also meant to scare people. I'm not saying that was the reasoning, okay? But it may make people think twice as to, being the average Joe, stepping in and trying to say something, be about something. I'm sure she was there because she was concerned. I'm sure she was there because she had something to say. And not for nothing, to lose your life that way shouldn't happen to anybody. And the thing is that we're told that this is okay. And it's not just about her death. We're told that all of these deaths are okay. It's okay that all of these people in these ICE encampments, a lot of them have been dying, right? Because they're not getting any hospital care. Like, let's say they have cancer, or they it's poor living situations where they're being put. It's okay if they die. In the riots, it's, people get stomped on, etc. It's okay if those people die. In Sudan, if they get boiled to death, it's okay if those people die. When does it become the point where we're like, no, these governments don't have our best interests at heart? And I'm not going to lie. Back in 2012, when I knew that this coming was happening, I saw multiple things. If these resources and these wars for resources keep going in the way and fashion they are, trust me, Mother God will take you out that way. The earth will spit us back out again. There's that. Or we'll just annihilate ourselves. Because not for nothing, if it's not through war, if it's not through AI, we're giving so much power to AI. We're giving our water and resources. Water we drink, we're giving to AI data centers. We're basically making certain blemishes on this planet, like horrifying blemishes on this planet that are taking up all of our energy and all of our water, making uninhabitable living conditions for any town around them. For you to make an email or for you to make some photo, it's at the point where it's just budding, but it don't eat and it don't sleep. And I know you guys may not believe me, but I'm telling you this again. Elon Musk is creating a force of robots that the world may not have ever seen. And I bet you all that antimony and all those resources being acquired all over, especially Africa with the cobalt, that's very important, for Elon's Tesla cars. Like, that's what they run on. Just saying. So we have to understand that all we're really doing is dying to give these people everything they need to kill us further. So we're actually participating in our own extinction. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And yes, you guys might be like, oh, you're a Debbie Downer. Da, 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 da. It should be about love and light, love and light, love and light. Well, you want something? I love you. And you want to know something? I'm trying to light up your mind. You want to know something? I'm trying to bring light to anyone I meet, and I try to express these things. That maybe the little minuscule day-to-day things that you're all worried about are great. We should all be grateful that we have these little qualms in our little bubble of existence. But at the same time, what I'm trying to illuminate here is the fact that if you are someone in this middle, I'm not saying go pick up a pitchfork and start fighting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying wake up. Just realize that when the fight, the war, whatever comes to your door, be prepared and be bold. Because that's one thing that I can honestly say about people in the 1900s and previous to that, before the Industrial Revolution, before our lives could be, exacerbated beyond the point, is those people had no problem dying for a cause. They had no problem dying for their children. And right now, as it stands, as a mother, I know that when the war comes my way, or when anything comes my way, I'm going to do whatever I can and need to stop whoever, so that my child has a chance to live in a world with air quality that's decent, food that is not made in a lab. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, us persons on the third, and maybe fourth viewpoint are fighting for a world that needs to be. That's it. It needs to exist. It needs to come into fruition. It needs to happen. One way, shape, or form. Because if it doesn't, we're saying goodbye to ourselves, because we're still in this time frame. I'm only 40. We're supposed to live another 40 years. And my son is supposed to live beyond that. And his children, I hope. And I don't fight for me. I fight for him. I make people feel awkward for him. I know that I can only go and protest as much as I can in my city for whatever I can. Trust me, if I was not a mom, I'd probably be jet setting around the world as we speak to go, pick bigger fights with bigger people. But my first and foremost care is for my son. But I know that there will come a day, because it seems to be coming soon, that I may not have a choice. But at least I'm ready. At least I know what I'm capable of giving up. At least I know that this is a reality. At least I know that I'm not dumbfounded. People, I understand. You have faith in your administration. You have faith in your governments. But please know this is such a facade. So, as I had said in my other video about a month or two ago, that Iran was the next target. If this, like I said, was kind of a pinpoint for the motion towards the jihad movement that may occur, and like I said, there's going to be terrorist attacks in all these different places, so that, people can get up in arms against a race of people, or people can get up in arms against a religious background. You know, it's so contrite sometimes, because it's like, what was it, like a couple weeks ago with that headline on the beach about that Jewish man, and I might be misquoting this, that got killed in Australia. Like somebody just opened up fire at this, I think it was not a Sabbath, but Hanukkah, right? And it made so much headway, you know what I mean? But then I started thinking back, I'm like, well, the body count was high. I think it was 13 people, right? And then it was just like, oh, these anti-Semitic people. And then it was like, yeah, but I'm like, I know in my lifetime, I've seen kids open up fire at schools and killed more people. There was no names there. There was no guns and NRA rules changed, or there was no upheaval. You know, it was just like a bad situation. It was called a shame, a blemish. So what we have to understand is, yes, no one needs to die, but we have to pay attention to the headlines and how they read and what they're trying to provoke within us. Because if we are supposed to sit here and be like, oh, I don't want to be called an anti-Semite for believing that other people shouldn't die, there's a problem there. The titles don't change who you are unless you let them. Renee Good was a good person. I don't care what the headlines say. I don't care what they brand her. And what I'm trying to say is that if we don't believe and understand what in our heart is right, knowing from wrong, knowing what is good, knowing what is bad, knowing what is pure, what people would call evil, then we are going to be in a lot of trouble, because this level of discernment has to start with us. We have to be able to determine, to put away our egos, to put aside our race, our sex, our identities, because we don't have a choice anymore. It's about unification for preservation of the human race. And if you don't believe me, don't believe me. I will just keep coming out with my prophetics as they come. I was, deemed correct in this instance. And again, you may not believe me. I do believe a jihad is coming, and it's not going to be by the Islamics. It's going to be propaganda created to take out certain groups of people, to make way for certain wars, to make way for resources to be absconded. They are not doing this so that they can take out certain religious backgrounds. They are doing this to take out resources behind our backs, so that no one pays attention to all the money being made, and no one pays attention to all the poorness we are facing, all the hardship we are living. That's the truth. So please, I implore you, anyone who watches this, it's not about the titles. It's about good and bad, right and wrong. And when you find that compass, stick to it, because that is the only way your soul will be saved. And I'm not talking about in the big religious sense. I'm talking about in your own personal sense. When you and God unite, you will know that you did the right thing, or you were on the right side. And that's all I have to say. I love you guys lots. Bye for now. Catch you next time.